Episode 15, The Dance of the Gods Under the Mask.
When the world begins to forget art, an ancient mission will wake up again. Welcome to the Sky Mender's Fragments of Artistic Space. Ancient Eastern China more than 8,000 years ago, the cosmic dome cracks, the abyss of nothingness swallows everything. In despair, Empress Nuwa blooms with high-dimensional divine light. The hand rest condenses the original emotions of the universe. 5 colored stones soar up. When the colorful stones touch the cracks, turn into a bright stream of light. The abyss closes. She spread the fire she created into the world. Leave hope and warmth to the world. After a long time flies to a highly automated future. Humanity is gradually losing its connection with art. Numb collective subconscious, breeding the name Zero Domain. The absolute power of reason. Gray and white cracks tear apart the time and space of the art universe. The sky that had been repaired collapsed again. Countless artistic essences were reduced to fragments, scattered in every corner of the long river of time. In the cold, dead city, a high-dimensional light quietly lit up. Iona appears with the echo of Nuwa's compassion, holding in hand space-time bricks that can collect broken time and space. She looks up to the broken spiritual universe, said softly. Only by retrieving the scattered art and life touch, only then can we reassemble the lost truth, goodness and beauty. Gray data covers the streets of Taipei in the future. Taipei 101 in the rain is hidden in the cold light and shadow. Young Liu is just the most ordinary person in the city. When Iona handed the space-time building blocks into his hands, the long-dormant artistic memory suddenly flooded into my heart. The long-lost sense of life awakens again. This time, we must mend the sky ourselves. Liu holds the blocks tightly. Embark on a journey to mend the sky spanning thousands of years of artistic civilization.
Cold rain flows down the streets of Taipei. Pedestrians walk on disorderly sidewalks like machines. Their eyes are empty. The dialogue between each other has lost the tension of plot and emotion. Only the code for system operation remains. Human beings began to be unable to feel the memories of their ancestors, completely severed from the ancient bloodline. On a bench in a community park, a gray-haired grandfather tries to tell his grandson an ancient myth. When he opened his mouth, a cold code came out. The holographic flowchart appears faintly in the air, the child recorded with unfocused eyes. The ancestral memories in the brain are being forcibly formatted by the Zero Domain. Liu stood alone on the overpass, looking at this silent city that is losing its voice. He could clearly feel the suffocation caused by the loss of historical memory. He stroked the cold iron railing. The roughness of dry hard clay returned to my fingertips, knowing that the soul of this city is dying. The inorganic geometric erosion of Zero Domain spreads crazily on Taipei street corners. The cold wind blows the fallen leaves, but it dries up like cardboard when rubbed. No spiritual high-pitched noise, all color and emotional characteristics are completely erased, only the cold black and white gray grid and the dead silence are left. At this time, the space-time building blocks in Liu's backpack shook violently. It makes a low crackling sound like clay cracking in the fire. A thick earthy sheen appears on the surface of the building blocks. The interior shows a wild and burning red and yellow fire, fighting geometric cracks. Iona's shadow condenses in the fog. Her long hair is loose and decorated with West African shells. Wearing a red cloak with black outlines, her voice is as melodious as an ancient bell. Liu, when humans forget their ancestors, the soul will become a rootless ghost. Go there, before mythology was completely formatted, bring back the fire of the ancestors and then, the building blocks burst into brilliant waves of red and yellow fire, turn into a vortex of particles, forcibly drag Liu into this extremely violent time and space turbulence. Liu fell into a boundless virgin forest in West Africa. This is an ancient tribal oasis, but under Zero Domain erosion, the giant bread tree is covered with a smooth gray ceramic paint. Losing the warm touch of wood, the entire forest has completely lost its life. In front of the mud tile house, there is a Yoruba sacrificial mask carved with totem patterns. At this moment, everything is locked inside the unofficial gray stone slab. All facial features and lines were completely smoothed. Solidification, when blown by the wind, it makes a dry and harsh impact sound like the scraping of iron wire. The geometric grid of the Zero Domain spreads across the mud, warning that the emotional overflow rate of language narrative is too high. Ancient myths equal ineffective noise. The cold machine code attempts to completely erase the emotional memory of civilization. The whole scene fell into a gray silence. On the ancient sacrificial stone platform lies a half-formatted puzzle, a rusty iron carving knife, a blank red clay pot completely stripped of decoration, and a large blank blackboard as smooth as a mirror. The surface of the board is smooth, no trace of engraving. Liu took a deep breath. Pick up the rusty iron carving knife. The moment my fingertips touched the handle of the knife, a hot sting surged into his heart. That's what countless generations of tribal carving priests have done, the collective fanaticism and loneliness of carving faith into wood with the tip of a knife at the campfire late at night. Liu held the carving knife tightly. Carve the first cut on the blank board. The tip of the knife carved extremely deep marks on the surface of the black wood. Makes a long, dull cry, like the ancestral spirits roaring underground. The workshop shook, a bronze door slowly opened. Liu stepped into the door, enter the mysterious underground sacrificial workshop. The dome is extremely high, the rock wall reflects the red light of the furnace. A huge earth kiln furnace burns in the center, glowing spools of thread and mask fragments slowly spin in the air. Fragments of West African masks and ancient Greek black-painted pottery pieces float in the air. When it collides, it emits a crisp and long chorus of wind chimes. The light is no longer the cold white of zero domain, instead, it becomes a Tyndall effect, the red and yellow fire of Venus dances. In the center of the sacrificial furnace, the concrete incarnation of the art fragments in this episode, Psychic, is quietly suspended. His body presents a primitive texture of dark brown drywood grain mixed with black mud. He wears a huge and ferocious Yoruba ritual mask. The lines of the mask are bold and majestic, two blazing ancestral flames burned in his eyes, pulling out two red-yellow flames in the air. Every step and breath he takes, all accompanied by the dull sound of war drums in the void. The sound of the war drums was heavy and slow, vibrating Liu's chest and bones. The warrior's chest and arms are engraved with flowing mythical totems. Black and red paint flow slowly in the gaps of the wood grain, intertwining the pulse of life. The lines of the pattern show the unique style of black painting art in the pre-colonial era. Strong and symmetrical, Greek warriors outlined in black lines fight against wild beasts of West African tribes in the light of fire. This is a game that spans time and space, a dialogue that transcends language. The iron knives and clay in the hands of craftsmen outline the same story about life and stories about inheritance. At this time, the gray geometric grid of the zero domain is like a python made of countless steel. It bites fiercely from the surrounding void, format a large area of colorful fire into a cold gray ceramic plane. The body of the masked warrior fell helplessly in the void. The flowing mythical patterns on his body also began to turn gray quickly, peeling, scattered in the wind. The ancestral flame on his mask also began to extinguish rapidly, turned into a dry gray smoke. The edges of the mask turned to cold gray plaster, lost all life. The masked warrior is falling, throwing a rusty chisel at Liu, shouting, "Don't let the story die in our hands." Liu completely awakened at this moment. The gray pupils in his eyes suddenly disappeared. Instead, there is a stream of deep blue and red light rotating like a vast nebula. The senses in his body resonated wildly with the world. He no longer feels numb. Instead, I clearly felt the warmth of wood and the coldness of iron. He rushed forward and seized the chisel, point to the blank mask and start carving. Liu went all out in the resonance, eyes filled with tears but extremely determined. He stabbed him again and again, carving tirelessly. His fingers have been worn out. The blood flows along the blade into the depth of the blackwood grain, blended with ancient black charcoal, turned into the blazing ancestral flame on the mask. The ferocious look of West African tribal masks, the original vitality of publicity, symmetrical with the left and right sculptures in the ancient Greek. Archaic period, the double black lines blend perfectly under the tip of the knife. Every cut with a knife leaves a trail of flowing light on the wooden board. Q version of Liu before time and space collapsed. Complete the carving of the last destined joint in the core creative space. At that moment, the mask opened its eyes wide and erupted into an overwhelming wave of red gold fire. However, the cold and ruthless code grid of zero domain is still there. The next second he counterattacked with an even more violent attitude, forcibly cut off this emotional torrent. This time, zero domain invested all its computing power. The cold white light curtain is like a thick steel fortress, ruthlessly extinguished the last flame, block resonance. The space-time building blocks shook violently. The internal luminous data is widely fragmented. The progress bar eventually reaches zero after releasing the red light. The body of the psychic was shattered inch by inch in countless geometric cracks, into cold gray gypsum dust, scattered into the depths of collapsing nothingness. The mask on his face fell apart. The flame is completely extinguished. Iona's lament echoes in the void, then dissipated together with the entire time and space. Liu was rebounded by the powerful shockwave, into brief darkness. The entire virgin forest in West Africa completely collapsed in time and space. Iona's shadow disappears. The huge bread trees and mud huts all turned into a cold gray scale grid. The dead gray color of the zero realm completely swallowed up and wiped out the entire time and space. Unable to save the ancestral fire, only the negative light cracks and nothingness left after the light is swallowed up. Liu is forcibly ejected in the white light. Left endless regrets. This was an unreserved defeat. Only the cold wind howls in the ruins. Liu returns to the streets of Taipei. It's raining continuously in the sky. The building blocks of time and space dimmed in his hands. Progress bar resets to zero and scarlet alert. For the first time, he deeply experienced the pain of failure. And the nothingness and emptiness brought about by the loss of ancestral memories. The fragments of the mask that were carved in space and time just now, at this time, as his fingertips lightly passed, instantly turned into inorganic gray gypsum dust, scattered in the cold wind. Imperfection and incompleteness became his irreparable regrets. And bloody historical marks. On a bench in a community park, the gray-haired grandfather was still reciting the data code mechanically like a machine. The child silently recorded, "The mutation that humans cannot feel the memory of their ancestors is still spreading. People forget their history and where they come from." The text on genealogy in history books in bookstores is still vague table codes. The mutation has not been successfully repaired, but Liu clenched his fists and understood. as long as the pain and memory remain, the resonance of life in the blood is still there, the story never really dies. In the sky on a rainy night in Taipei, at this time, the core philosophical sentences with the texture of flowing gold lines slowly emerged. The reason why African tribal mask art exists is, it's not about leaving behind skills, but to let future generations know. Has anyone ever lived so truly? Liu just wanted to put away the blocks. The space-time building block in his hand suddenly shook violently. Harsh noise accompanying burned transistor, the core block of the building block flashes a scarlet warning light, a warning projection of fragments of ancient writing that cannot be parsed is projected in midair. Warning projection reveals anomalies in the real world where humans are gradually losing the ability to be silent. Before the projection dissipates, on the edge of the picture, the afterimages of tree branches and bamboo leaves outlined in ink on a snowy night appear vaguely. Hints at where the next art fragment will go. The projection finally revealed art fragments, haiku on a snowy night, then the projection collapsed, the screen fades to black. In the dark, the original drum sound is violently swallowed up by electronic noise, leaving endless regrets and suspense in the night sky.